Good morning, pre-service teachers. This short instructional video is designed to help you complete the ELA TEKS scavenger hunt in the Week 2 folder in Blackboard. Resources you're going to need to complete this assignment is a copy of the ELA TEKS scavenger hunt, which I passed out in class, but there's also a digital copy in the Week 2 folder in Blackboard. You're going to need access to your English Language Arts TEKS, which you can find on the web. Just Google ELA TEKS. K through 5 is going to be in the elementary file, and 6 through 8 is going to be in the middle school file. There's also an app that you can download to your phone or your device that is a little easier to use. It allows you to search for things in the app, but I also recommend having a written copy so that you can check off TEKS that you've already taught when we start writing lesson plans, highlight important words, and that kind of thing. If you have your TEKS pulled up on a computer, you can use Control F to find keywords. So if I'm in the elementary TEKS, I just hit Control F, say I want to look up something about drama, and then it's going to highlight all those key terms for me, making it a little easier to find what it is that you need to find. You're also going to need the template, paraphrase it, chunk it, put it together. That is going to be in the Week 2 folder in Blackboard, and you can see it is linked directly to the submission box. I passed out a copy in class, which you can handwrite notes on as you go, but for your submission I would like you to type it up in the actual template and submit that template as a Word document. This assignment is similar to the social studies scavenger hunt that we did in Week 1. It's going to be the exact same process, but just with a different set of TEKS. But before you get started, I want you to respond to this question in your notebook. What do I already know about the English Language Arts TEKS? So go ahead and pause this video and respond briefly to that question in the form of a quick write. Then you're going to move through the questions on the scavenger hunt. So let's take a look and see what some of those questions look like. You'll see that we're going to start off with figuring out what the strands for the ELA TEKS are. We are using the 2017 English Language Arts TEKS because they started getting implemented in the 2019-2020 school year and will be fully implemented by 2020-2021 school year. These strands have a lot more complex names than the social studies strands do. And if you remember, it's pretty easy to find the strands. They're basically going to be at the front of the knowledge and skills statements. So if I just go to knowledge and skills, you'll see that I can see the strand name right here. Developing and sustaining foundational language skills is one of them. So that's your first step, is to identify those strands in the English Language Arts TEKS. The next thing I want you to do is take a look at the kindergarten knowledge and skills, and I want you to pick out 2 skills that kindergartners have to master in regards to phonological awareness. I also want you to look at what letter-sound relationships kindergartners are expected to be able to decode by the end of that year. And then I want you to compare that to what first graders are expected to do. What are second graders expected to do in regards to handwriting, and in what grade does handwriting instruction end? So you're going to have to look through that handwriting TEK, do Control F for handwriting, or you can also search for the word print or also cursive. That's going to help you find that out. There is a grade level where they stop talking about handwriting. I want you to figure out what that last grade level to mention handwriting is. Then I want you to compare and contrast reading comprehension skills from kindergarten to 3rd grade. For this one, I don't want you to just copy and paste the skills. I want you to look at the verbiage and the prepositional phrases that they use when they talk about reading comprehension in kindergarten, and then as they shift from 1st to 2nd, and then how does that drastically change by 3rd grade. For number 8, you're going to do the Control F feature, or you can just flip through your printed page pages. You're looking for the word drama, and I want you to figure out what skills the students need to know. This is going to be under the multiple genre strand. In regards to drama, how do they start learning about drama? What are the foundational skills that they need? And then how does that change as they go from kindergarten all the way to 6th grade? If you're one of my 4 through 8 people, you can continue to look and answer about 7th and 8th grade as well. I want to know how that skill set changes. Do they start with identify and move to more complex things? So you're not copying and pasting the TEKS, you're extracting information to see how those TEKS change, specifically the difficulty of the skills. So I also want you to look at the word plot in the TEKS. This is going to be under the reading comprehension of literacy text, specifically fiction, and I want you to see how that skill set, the vocabulary they need, what they're supposed to master, etc., changes from 1st grade to 4th grade. Do not just copy and paste the TEKS. Look at the verbiage, look at the vocabulary, and see how that changes from 1st to 4th grade. For number 10, now we're looking under the writing literary text strand, and I want you to see how the writing changes for plot from 2nd to 4th grade. Tell me what spelling looks like in 5th grade. What are students expected to do in regards to spelling development in 5th grade? Then for number 12, I want you to look at the different genres students are expected to learn to read in. That you can see easily in 6th grade because by then they should hit all of the genres. This semester, you're going to learn exactly what those genres are and how to talk about each one of those genres. For number 13, we're looking at the different types of writing that students have to do in 6th grade. And I'll give you a hint. They are the same types of genres that the students have to read in. And then I want you to peruse and figure out, you've got to extrapolate a little bit, but figure out what are 3 ELA TEKS that you could easily link to social studies and how. This is just a brief response. I'm not looking for some crazy answer. This is where you can copy and paste the TEKS and then give me a brief description of how those link together. So again, you can type up these or you can handwrite them out on the printed copy that you have. You are not going to submit this English Language Arts scavenger hunt for the grade. It is an exercise to get you familiar with those English Language Arts TEKS and how they are vertically aligned through kindergarten, 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade, and all the way up to 8th grade if you're my 4th through 8th grade people. It's also going to help you study for your content exam. But before I show you how those TEKS are connected to the competencies for the content exam, I want to show you how to write the summary that you are going to submit for a grade in Blackboard. It's called Paraphrase It, Chunk It, Put It Together, and it's a strategy from Jennifer Saravallo's reading strategies book that I mentioned on the first day of class. I made a template to go along with it, which I passed out in class, but you can also pick up a digital copy in the Week 2 folder in Blackboard. You can handwrite on this as you go, but for your submission, I want you to type it up in the template and then submit it to Blackboard. Please don't submit a photo because those sometimes get hard to read and they also take a lot longer to download and I can't leave comments on them in Blackboard. So let's take a look at that. The template, I've already split the TEKS into sections for you. So you're going to look at the kindergarten introduction in your TEKS. You're going to read through that introduction. I'm going to go all the way to the top of my TEKS. Not this. This is all the legal jargon about when it was adopted and when it was implemented. And I'm going to look at this introduction, read through it, and then I'm just going to take some notes on my template that I have. So I'll say something like, there are 7 strands in the English Language Arts TEKS, okay? And I'm not going to go in and list those strands because I'm doing a summary. I'm not giving the specific details. I'm just looking for the main ideas. I also noticed that it says Let's see, they're intended to be integrated for instructional purposes. They're recursive in nature. The strands cover reading, writing, listening, and speaking. Okay, and each strand is of equal value. So contrary to what our testing says, reading and writing, listening, speaking, phonics, all of that is just as important as the other ones. There is no one that is more important than the other. Number 3 says text complexity increases, so the skill level becomes more challenging as you move vertically through the grade levels. Okay. It also talks about in number 4, my English language learners. It says that they are expected to meet standards in a second language. However, their proficiency in English influences the ability to meet these standards. So my ELLs, it basically says that they're supposed to advance in their English language acquisition. So ELLs are supposed to advance in English language acquisition. Okay. It talks about current research with ELLs, and then it talks about oral language proficiency. Students must become thinkers and proficient speakers in all content areas. Okay. Okay, so that's the gist of what the introduction says. I'm not including specific details because it's a summary. You're going to peruse through the kindergarten through 2nd grade TEKS. You're going to pull out some main ideas that they have and type those up there. You are not copying and pasting the TEKS. You are not talking verbatim. You're going to inference what the main ideas are and pull them out and type them up there. You do the same for 3rd through 4th grade and the same for 5th and 6th grade. So you're going to do those in these blue boxes, and then you're going to take those ideas from each of those sections and pull out the most important idea from each of the sections and create a summary paragraph in this peach colored box here. Okay, you will type that up. You will submit that to Blackboard in the week 2 folder inside the Dropbox under Paraphrase It, Chunk It, Put It Together. So how do the TEKS connect to the competencies that you have to study for your English Language Arts exam for EC through 6 core subjects or for 4 through 8 core subjects or English Language Arts? Let's pull up the preparation manual that is available on the Pearson website and look at what competencies 10 and 11 say. So last week in class, I showed you how to access the competencies for your content exam. And this week I have 2 ways for you to do it. If you go to the methods block information and you scroll on down to the TEKS test prep manuals, you're going to select the test that you need to study for. For most of you, that's going to be your core subjects, EC through 6, test 291. Click on that. Hit go, and that will pull up your prep manual that has all of the competencies for that EC through 6 core subjects exam, as well as a practice test with explanations in it. If you haven't printed that already, I would highly recommend doing that. That is a great study tool to get you familiar with what you need to know for your exam. For this week's purposes, I've clipped part of that and put the ELA competencies here in week 2, and so if you click on that, that's just going to pull up competencies 10 and 11, which have to do with writing, and that's what we cover in this course. So let's take a peek at those competencies. You'll see 10 is on writing conventions. It says the teacher understands the conventions of writing in English and provides instruction that helps students develop proficiency in applying writing conventions. It says that the teacher understands students go through predictable stages in acquiring writing conventions. Okay, it talks about scribbling, recognition of print, mock letters. All of that you can learn about in the videos for Wednesday's class. Understands relationship between spelling and phonological awareness. That's in Wednesday's videos. Pre-communicative writing, stages of spelling development, Wednesday's videos. Spelling instruction, instructional strategies, Wednesday's class. Instructional strategies to help students in English writing conventions. We'll hit that when we get to editing and revising. Recognizing the similarities and differences between spoken and written and instructional strategies that help apply writing conventions. We will talk about all of that with mentor text and that kind of thing. But if you continue and you look at written communication in competency 11, this talks about things like reading and writing vocabulary, many opportunities to read and write. You monitor students' writing development. You understand the difference between the first draft of writing and writing for publication. Guys, that's the writing process. The writing process is in your TEKS. Understanding the benefits of technology. That has to do with publishing, like when we use a Word document to write and that kind of thing. F is big, understanding writing for a variety of audiences, purposes, and settings. That's where in your TEKS, it talks about the 5 different genres that you need to write in, which are your informational, your dramatic, your poetry, your literary, and your argumentative, okay? Even though it only appears as one sub-competency, that is a lot of information you need to know in order to be able to master that sub-competency. So these are directly related to the TEKS, just like they are in social studies, but they're a little bit more vague, okay? If you look at letter H, you'll notice that you are expected to know what is in the TEKS for each of the grade levels. And so that's where this scavenger hunt activity can help you out. So just like social studies, the English language arts competencies are directly connected to what is in the English language arts TEKS. Okay, video's starting to get a little long, so I want to wrap up what it is that we're covering today. For the next session, we have a ton of information in regards to theory on student development for handwriting, writing, and spelling development. I need you to watch the videos that are linked in Blackboard prior to class on Wednesday so that you have a solid foundational knowledge for the theories behind those 3 areas of development. In class, we're going to do a writing exercise with cursive. I'm going to teach you some strategies to teach development in those areas, and we'll do a lot of hands-on stuff. But you won't understand why we are doing that if you don't know the theory behind it, which is in those videos. So if you are in Blackboard and you go to week 2, you will see there are 3 videos that I need you to watch. I highly recommend taking notes on those because that is information you need to know as a teacher and is going to pop up on the exam. Prep for class by watching those 3 videos. And then if I were you, I would go ahead and submit your paraphrase it, chunk it, put it together summary activity for the scavenger hunt, so that's out of the way and it's done and you don't have to worry about it next week. Remember, you do not need to submit your ELA TEKS scavenger hunt, just the summary activity. Do not take the competency 10 written conventions early writers until after we've had class on Wednesday. Okay, see you for week 2. Good luck.